Okay, everybody, it is November, and we've been talking a lot about in other areas this month is Movember, which is a organization that's raising awareness on the fact that many men end up dying young. And we're losing a lot of men every year to a lot of different things. First being prostate cancer and testicular cancer, which are huge issues with men. Because a lot of times we don't talk about those things and we don't get those things checked. Tonight, we're going to move more towards the other part of what Movember is about is with mental health awareness and suicide awareness. Those two things are very big with Movember as well. And more than the prostate and testicular cancer for me personally, mental health has been a big part of my life for all of my life. I've told my story before, and we've put up the trigger warnings about what's going to go on tonight. So we do appreciate anybody listening. And if you have anything, any comments for me or my guest, love to hear from you, of course. And as always, we're here to support you. So, as I said in the intro, tonight I've got the one and only Scotty Schrier, the man, the myth, the legend.
It's technically Scryer. It's a hard
Is it
CH.
Schrier? Oh man, I
It's all
messed it
good.
up. No,
I,
I'll
I
just edit that out and
literally
sound like
I
a
can
great guy.
count on one hand how many people have ever just gotten that right off of the gate. So yeah.
So edit that out so I sound like I know what I'm talking about. Got it. Okay. How hard CH. But anyway, Scotty, it's good to talk to you. I think you and I have probably been kind of circling around in the same Facebook pages for a long time. We never have gotten a chance to talk in person, and have never met in person. So
a lot of typing, first time talking.
Right?
Yeah, this is it's always kind of funny whenever you first put a voice to a face and you're like, I didn't think they were going to sound like that, and yet here we are. Yeah.
Yep. It's great. And I am very happy to have that opportunity, especially for this month. And the reason I say that is because, and I'm not going to tell anyone else's story, of course, but Scotty and I have typed a lot about things that have affected us and our mental health in our lives. So that's kind of where we met first, I think. And honestly, it's like talking to, my brother sometimes. We have so many similarities in our story. So first, we'll do the dad stuff. How many kids do you have and how old are they?
2 kids. I got 2 boys. They are, we just had a round of birthdays. They're really close. So like all of our family birthdays are like boom, 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 boom. So we are now at 12 and 10.
12 and 10. All right. Good age.
10.
Good age. So getting a preteen.
I don't know if I'd say good age. It's an age.
It is an age.
Definitely an age.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you having any trepidation about getting into teen years with your boys?
My oldest one's already in it.
He's done it.
Yeah. I mean, at 12, he's already talking about, well, Dad, but when I get a car, and I mean, it's his voice has dropped, his feet are growing. He's already in a size 12 shoe, taller than his mom. And he keeps looking at me like, you're next, old man, and it's like, sometimes it's just trying to get words out of him. Mm-hmm. He's at that age now where it's either the grunting or saying, I know, with everything. Yeah. So yeah, it's I know that my mom is somewhere in the afterlife laughing her butt off, going, you got one just like you, buddy.
Now you spend the rest of your life arguing with a tiny version of yourself, and not a tiny version of you, a smaller version.
Every day he's a little bit bigger version. Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome. Yeah. I'm really enjoying my oldest. He's 15 now, and he's been a moment or two when he's been just off the rails. And I've just thought, yeah, I know why. I know why my mom and dad could have reacted the way they did many times over, but he's been really good.
I know why lions eat their young.
Exactly. So, okay. So to get more into the topic for the night, for mental health, I would like to just give you the reins, as it were, to talk about what you want to talk about. And if you want to tell your story, and whatever you want to share with the audience.
Okay. Wow. I feel like I should have had like a prepared speech. First and foremost, what's the rule on cussing here? Because
Go for it.
I got a bit of a foul mouth at times, and sometimes it just falls out. I try not to, but sometimes
Go right ahead.
is the only word that fits, kind of thing. Basically, like, just to kind of book in, like, with the whole mental health thing, I can go into, where does it start? I was basically born, I was the product of a double infidelity. And my birth effectively ruined two families, kind of thing. And that weight was very evident. My dad had got back together with his first wife and just tried to pretend nothing happened. But I looked a lot like my mama. So she had a walking, talking, breathing reminder of her husband being a scoundrel. And I won't say that she went out of her way to make my life hell, but it happened. I can even say that even on my mom's side, after everything blew up, she was a single mom. She was, at one point, bartending was the only way she could make ends meet. And so it was drop me off at some rando's house and come pick me up at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning when she was done bartending. She was not as stringent as she should have been with who she was choosing to watch her kid. I can say that within my first 15 years, there were several incidents of sexual abuse, physical abuse, mental abuse, emotional abuse, and then just outright, separation anxiety was a huge thing for me.
Of course.
And then add ADHD on top of that, because I'm pretty sure my mom was not stopping on the smoking and drinking when she was pregnant, because it was the 70s and it just wasn't a thing yet,
Right.
And it was, I spent a lot of my life thinking that, there was something wrong with me, because I was always an outsider, and it didn't matter where I went. When I was at my dad's house, I never fit in with that side of the family because, well, you belong with her. And I go to my mom's house and I would meet up with those relatives and they're like, oh yeah, you're his boy, and it didn't matter where I went. I never fit in. And that just added up, over time, to where I think I was in 9th grade when it finally just collapsed in. And I was sitting in typing class and the whole world just collapsed on me. And I'm sitting there. I used to get nosebleeds a lot, and mostly when I would get stressed out. So here I am. I don't know what caused it, but I'm typing away, and I look down and just blood is dripping out of my nose onto the typewriter. And I'm just like, I got to go to the bathroom. And I went to the bathroom, and I remember I'm looking in the mirror, and this is something I used to do a lot, which was to talk to myself in the mirror. And I'm just looking at myself in the mirror like, what is wrong with you? Look at you. Nobody cares, and you get that voice that starts lying. But it's lying in your voice. The lie's in your voice, so you believe it, And here I am. I'm just letting the blood just pour out of my nose. And I'm like, what if that was more blood? And I was like, let's just do this. And so I started trying to wrench the sink out of the wall because I was going to break it and use the broken porcelain. And at that point, one of the high school football players came in. Now, I'm a big guy right now, but at this point, I am all of 6'1", I don't know, $140 soaking wet. You know, like it just really, sorry, my phone decided to start ringing here. So yeah, all of this stuff is like I'm the scrawny kid. And I turn around, here's this guy, he's jacked, his neck, he's got those neck muscles, you know?
Yes.
And he walks in and I've got blood all over the sink. And he's like, dude, what's your, you know, and he starts popping off. And I was like, you got a fucking problem? Oh,
Mm-hmm.
you want some of this? Come on, motherfucker, you know? And
Yeah.
I'm suddenly like raging and I'm spitting blood because it's pouring out of my nose. And this guy's like, all right, psycho, whatever, and leaves. And
Yeah.
I'm sitting here now, I'm all, the adrenaline is up through the roof, and I was trying to wrench the sink out of the wall when this guy from my typing class, who I'd known him, but we weren't friends.
Mm-hmm.
We, you know, he comes walking in and he just goes, you don't want to do that. Like, you don't get to tell me what I do and don't want to do. He goes, no, you don't want to do that. I've been there. And he goes, you know what? He goes, let's go get a Coke. And he says, get your nose cleaned up. I'm gonna go tell the teacher we're gonna get out of here.
Mm-hmm.
And we skipped the rest of the day. We just busted out, went driving around. We drove around for, I don't know, it felt like hours, probably an hour, hour and a half.
Yeah.
But it was, here's this guy who, in my head, looking at him, he's always well-dressed, clean cut, good looking dude, super low key on the he has all the chill I don't have. And I'm just sitting here listening to him tell me about how absolutely messed up his life is and how his family is on food stamps right now and how they're having to get like government cheese, and all of the clothes that he gets are hand-me-downs from aunts and uncles and other people. And you know, and I suddenly sat there and I realized, like, wait a minute, I'm looking at this guy thinking he has got all of his ducks in a row, and he's just in as bad a situation as I'm in. Mm-hmm. Financially. You know, his home life is rough. His dad had run out on him, you know, kind of thing. And it was just kind of like that. Oh, maybe I don't want to say maybe I don't have as bad as I thought I did, but it was this idea that what I was going through was survivable.
Oh, that's a great.
That's what the voice in my head wasn't telling me.
Yeah.
And that was, that's all I needed, was this whole thing that if this kid Larry can survive, I can too.
Mm-hmm.
And that really, that made all of the difference. And it wasn't even, I don't think he didn't even like play it out that way, but that's where my mind was at. And that was the one thing I picked up where it was like, okay. You know, and it was, once I was over that, I thought, okay, we're good. We're done. I'm healed. Everything's great. Everything's perfect, but it's not.
Yeah.
You know, you don't just run away from depression and anxiety and, you know, inferiority complexes, and you can't just continue living in an abusive situation and just think, oh, this is going to be okay. But I thought it was, you know, I was like, hey, I beat it. Woohoo. I won. And so that I kind of, that what they say, my hubris was my downfall. That's kind of where I was at, was I walked out of that with almost a little too much hubris. Mm-hmm. And so the next time that things kind of flared up, I spiraled even bigger. Never did get suicidal again. Although I have had like suicidal ideation periodically here and there. It was more of, and I'm trying to think of what the French call it. It translates out as the call of the void. And it's this thing of like, if you've ever stood on a top of a tall building and just gone, ooh, what if I jumped? Mm-hmm. You know, just that little snap thing. You're not going to do it, but your brain goes, I don't know what would happen if it did. Well, it became a thing where it's like, well, I'm not going to kill myself, but what if that dump truck just plowed into my car right now? You know,
Yeah.
What if that happened? That wouldn't be that big a deal. That wouldn't be bad at all. You know, it was, and I realized it was like, no, that's not, maybe that's not a good place to be.
Yeah.
And I've spent a lot of time working on myself. And what I've found over the years, and this is really what everything will boil down to is, and I know you and I have kind of talked about stuff like this in the past, is that sometimes what we think the problem is still only a symptom of something deeper.
Yeah.
You know, I call it my onion theory, for lack of a better term. You know, I guess I could take Donkey's view and say, ooh, it's a parfait.
It's a parfait.
Everybody loves a damn parfait.
Everybody loves, that's right.
Yeah, maybe that's the way, but it's that onion theory. It's just that, you know, you get to that one skin and there's another layer below it. And my main thing is that this was probably about 3 years ago that I realized that I really had a deep-seated anger issue. And I mean, I can go back at my life. I can look from the time that my mom's friend molested me when I was 3, when he was supposed to be babysitting me. I can go back and say, yes, it was when my mom, in a fit of absolute frustration and rage with me, tried to pull a tooth that wasn't ready to be pulled. I can count off every time that she whipped me with a belt, so much to the point that she would just like scream and basically just say, I want to kill you, and then leave the room, and then come back crying later and like, I'm sorry, you make me so mad. I can go back and say, look at all of the gaslighting I went through. That was, I got this way because you made me mad, not I got this way because I'm a broke ass adult with no tools in my toolbox to handle my own anger issues. Right. So it makes me feel better to say you did it. That's another thing. Anybody dealing with mental illness right now, or think you may be dealing with mental illness, go Google gaslighting. It will open your eyes. You will see so many times in your life where people they will piss you off and then go, ooh, why are you so mad? Because you just pissed me off. Oh, maybe you have a problem. Yeah, you know, I can go through and point to the family member who molested me when I was older. I can go through and point out all of the times that I was left with an emotionally abusive stepmother, and where the anger came from was, now one of these people protected me. Not a one of them when they were supposed to.
They were, yeah.
And I carried the weight of that for 30 years before it almost crushed me. And I was like, wait a minute. Yeah, I am angry. I am so freaking angry. And I realized like that's the one scene. It's the scene in the Avengers at the very end when he's like, okay, Dr. Abana, I hate to tell you, but you're going to need to get angry. And he goes, oh, that's my secret. I'm always angry. Right. And I have never been seen more completely in my life. Right there with you. That moment. Yes. And I went, oh my God, I'm always angry. Even when I was laughing, even when I was having a good day.
Yes.
It wouldn't take that much to snap. And that's, I was talking about how I have no chill. It's because it was like this magma bubble that was inside. And when the magma is close to the surface, it doesn't take much for that volcano to erupt. And I listen to podcasts and audiobooks and everything while I'm going through my day, doing dishes, whatever, housework. I've got to have something on. And so I thought, well, I'll do something constructive at least. So I was listening to a podcast. It was an NPR podcast I'll have to look up the link to it, but it was essentially, they were talking about anger. And it usually, when they would tell the story, it's here's this overarching story, and then they have section 1, section 2, section 3, and it's like, oh, here's this person, they don't seem like they're terribly related, and then they hit the overarching one at the end and tie it all together, and you go, oh. And I realized that part of my anger was in my control because it stemmed from how I told my story. And we all have our story. And I'm very deliberate in my story and how I tell it now, because they did a study with poets, and they found that the poets that use the I and me pronouns the most were 70% more likely to die of suicide than those that don't. And the reason is if and poetry is a very visceral and real thing, and they're pouring their very personal experiences down on paper, but they use I and me, and you end up reliving the trauma. So I can say that my mom's friend, Cece, when I was 3 years old, molested me. I'm fine.
Yeah.
But when I say I was 3 years old when I was molested,
yeah,
this hits. And the reason is because when I tell the story that way, I'm reliving it. When I switch the pronouns to they, them, the brain switches it over into this is an unpleasant memory, not this is a trauma to be relived.
Yeah.
And so when I tell my story, I'm very cognizant of saying, no, they did this to me. Not how, not like, oh, it was, it takes the focus off of me and the pain and puts the focus where it needs to be, which is them.
Yeah.
And the shit they did. I don't need to carry that burden.
Yeah.
That is not my burden to carry. I was so ashamed when a family member molested me when I was 12. I was absolutely ashamed because I didn't fight back because I was scared.
Yeah.
And I carried the shame for that for 20 years. Before my wife and I got married, I just sat down with her one night and I said, okay, I need to tell you something about me. And if you don't want to marry me anymore, I'll understand. And I tell her, she was like, well, why the hell would that make any difference? And I said, because it's growing up in the South, growing up the way I did, that was a very shameful thing. And the shame was on me because I somehow allowed it to happen.
Yeah.
We and I'm painting with broad brush strokes. So if you're in the South or you're Southern Baptist, whatever, this is not an offense. This is my experience. So I'm painting with broad brush strokes, but this is the experience I had. Was the churches I grew up in were very good at victim blaming. And they were very much in the sense of, well, if something bad happened to you, son, then maybe God was punishing you for something bad you did. And suddenly, all of these bad things that happened to me were my fault because I was a bad kid, and we don't allow our kids to have emotions. How many times I would start crying and like, oh, quit being a panty waste. Oh, man up. And we wonder why we have so many grown ass men running around right now that are so emotionally constipated that they're killing themselves in record freaking numbers because they don't know how to look at another person and say, I hurt.
Yeah.
And know that the other person is going to look at them and say, I'm sorry. And not go, well, what did you do? How is this your fault? You
Yeah.
know? But it was finally, it was retelling my story in using the they, them, you know. I was in the kitchen. I'll remember I just finished dishes, and all of a sudden, like, I felt hollow, like from here down, I just felt hollow. And I think I told you at one point, it was almost like you got that clogged toilet finally goes gunk, and all of the shit just goes down. That's what it was. Like, I just felt it just, and the magma gone. Oh, doesn't mean I don't get angry. But now when it happens, I say, okay, what's happening that's making me this way? So for instance, telling my boys tonight, I had no patience for them. I'm trying to get dinner done, to get up here, do this, get all this stuff taken care of. And I'm like, guys, I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm not having it. I said, because I got a bit of a headache and I got a toothache. Now, if I can frame my discomfort, saying, okay, my anger is coming from my discomfort, and I just want things to go smoothly, and they're not, that's a broken expectation. That expectation's on me, buddy. And I go, okay, I figured that out. And now it's not, oh, you kids are pissing me off. It's, okay, I either need to readjust my expectation, or I need to inform you that this is where I'm at. And I'm sorry if I'm overly cranky with you. It's nothing personal. I'm going to take some Advil, and hopefully it will get better. It's helped me frame my feelings. Like, they're not just these rampant things, because they can snowball on you so fast, especially with anxiety.
Oh yeah.
You don't even get me started. I mean, you could be minding your own business, and within 30 minutes, you're just sitting there like, I can't breathe. My lips are tingling. Oh God. What's, and the whole time you get so focused on the fast heart rate and the fight or flight response. And I say fight or flight, there's so many other responses. There's fight, flight, freeze, fuck, fawn. There's 5 or 6 different responses. Like when that family member molested me, I was upset with myself because I didn't fight and I didn't flee. Those are the only 2 responses I had been taught, fight or flight. And I didn't do either one, which meant I must have liked it. No, I froze. I was like the fainting goat. I completely locked up. I disassociated.
Yeah.
My mind, I don't even know where it was. It was not where I was with what was going on. I was somewhere else. And then I hear rape victims talk about that same thing of like, oh no, I wasn't there when that happened. That happened to someone else. I get it. I absolutely get it. But I beat myself up over it because I'm a guy, man. I'm supposed to be manly. I should have put up my fist and just beat the hell out of him. Guy outweighed me by 100 pounds. I wasn't doing shit.
Yeah.
The freeze thing is probably what saved it from getting violent and possibly being hurt worse, you know? And I had to come to that realization that, oh, I didn't have enough tools in my toolbox to handle the problems that I'm dealing with. And I love the toolbox analogy because dudes love our tools.
That's right.
Most of us. But what they say, if the only tool you have is a hammer, every problem starts looking like a nail.
Looking like a nail. Yep.
And there's a lot of there's so many different tools out there, which also means that we have to have these conversations. We have to talk, because I told my story on Huffington Post back when Jared was first arrested from Subway. And that's what prompted me, because there were 12 kids that he ruined.
Yeah.
He ruined their lives. And it was because nobody was talking. And I told my story. I was on a international platform, really, with Huffington Post. I put it out there. My inbox literally exploded. I had no fewer than 20 of my friends that I've known for years that contacted me completely anonymously that said, my wife doesn't even know, but you told my story. I had a guy in Australia. He contacted me and he said, he goes, this is going to seem weird, but are you the guy that wrote the story in the Huffington Post? I said, yeah, it was me. He says, he goes, I just want to say, he goes, the first time I read this story, he goes, I got paranoid because you were telling my story. And he said, you told my story almost exactly. Wow. And he says, I had to reread it to realize that there were some subtle differences. Mm-hmm. And he started sending me pictures of him every year while growing up. And he says, if you look at these pictures, you can tell exactly when the abuse happened, because that's the year I stopped smiling in pictures. Yeah. And he says, I'd never noticed it until after reading the story, I went back. And all of these guys are messaging me. I mean, seriously, by the time it was done, I had it was 60 different guys contact me. I did a reading at the Dad 2.0 convention one year. We have a blog slam. I did a reading. Had a couple of guys that night come up and give me a hug and just said, me too, buddy. Me too. But we're not talking about it. Yeah. You know, everyone's like, oh, you're so brave. And I'm like, it's not really bravery. It's just this fact that you need to know you're not alone. Mm-hmm. The shame is not yours to carry. Mm-hmm. Yes. You know, it's not your fault, whatever. And there's absolutely no shame in saying, hey, me too. Right. I know a bunch of guys that were making fun of the hashtag Me Too movement that were probably part of the hashtag Me Too movement, but they didn't want to say it because I'm not one of those weirdos that happened to. Yeah, right. No. Yeah. It happened to so many of us. It's the stat I think right now is I'm going to misquote it. I'm not even going to say it, but it was something on close to 40%. 40% of all men right now have had some form of sexual abuse in their life.
Yeah. Now I want to stop you for just a second and back up on one thing, because I do the same thing when people tell me about it being bravery. And it is something that we just need to talk about. People need to hear, men especially need to hear that this happened to somebody else and that it's okay to talk about it. But still, taking that first step, you being the one that opens that door for other men, is a brave act. And
it was hard. I mean, I guess I have a hard time. Like, hey, look at me. I was so brave.
Right.
My natural inclination is like downplay it.
Mine too. Yeah.
It's not easy. Mm-mm. And I don't want anybody to come out of this going, oh, well, talking about trauma is so easy. It's not.
No.
But it's necessary. You know, no, and the hard part is, and this is the thing, guys will sit there and we've talked about toxic masculinity in the past on things. And it's this mindset that, you know, well, you got to be this tough guy and not show any emotions. And I'm going to say that it's actually the tough guys that do show the emotions, because if I tell you about a personal trauma that I've been through, that's a vulnerability that you could come back and attack me on later.
Yeah.
I'm strong enough to expose that vulnerability.
Yes.
You know,
yes.
That's a level of strength someone who's been eating all of their emotions and putting the facade will never have.
Right.
You know, that there is, I'm not going to, you know, I'm not one to toot my own horn, but, you know, in some aspect, I mean, I've done a lot of damn work. You know, there are certain aspects of my life I am one tough motherfucker because I've had to be.
Yes.
Because the only other option was to just say goodbye, right, and end it all.
Is just either
and not have my family, not have my friends, not have my tribe. I talk about my tribe a lot, and it's you know, my tribe is like my village. You know, that's what I like to call the chosen family.
Yes.
In some networks, we'll call it your safety net.
Mm-hmm.
It's the people that you call at 3:00 in the morning when you've got nowhere else to go. That's the people that you call, you know, that you just know they're going to be there. You know, I'm that way with several people. I've got people that if my phone rings and I see their name, I will answer it no matter what, hands down. I don't care what I'm doing. I'd be like, I have to take this. Sorry.
Right. Yeah.
You know, there are other people I let that go to voicemail. We'll talk to them in a little bit, you know,
Yeah.
but I have surrounded myself deliberately with my tribe, and I maintain that tribe. One of the things that we talked about the other day, because I don't know if you guys know, this is recorded. It's not live. We were going to do this we were going to do this the other day, and you had something come up because one of your kids wanted to make YouTube videos.
Yes.
And I'm sitting here going, you may not be into YouTube or making videos or doing this, and it's out of your wheel well and whatever. But what happens is, in you're doing that, you are paying into your child's emotional bank account, because we all have a bank account with every interaction that we have. And everybody, I say bank account, you basically are running your own bank, and everybody has accounts that run through. And there are times that you look at accounts receivable and you're like, you've been writing way more checks and I'm not getting any deposits. I may still help you, but I'm a bitch about it. You know, I'm not going to be happy about it.
Yeah.
But there are other people in this world that will flat out just call me up and I'll be like, don't even care. I am on my way, because they have paid so much into my personal account that they can't write a check too big.
Yeah.
I can say my old next door neighbor, he when we were moving, this was at the very beginning of the pandemic, we sold a house and bought a house right down the street. And so here we are, we're desperate trying to get everything done before the whole country goes on lockdown and we lose this house. And it was absolute total stress. Next thing I know, he's like, oh, you got to get another, because we were using pods, the moving things.
Yes.
And they couldn't fit both of them in my driveway. He's like, use my driveway. We had to be out of the house by midnight. He's like, you pile up everything you can on the driveway. Don't even worry about it. You know, when it came time to help move, I picked up a TV, and this bicep right here, I tore it.
Oh,
So, you know, when you make a muscle, see, that's all deflated right here. That muscle definitely is up under here. It's still here. I've never gone to the doctor over it. I was picking up a TV and that muscle ripped.
Oof.
Homeboy walked right over. He's like, let me get my shoes on. He helped me move for 8 hours. When it was done, drenched in sweat, he's like, hey, careful, Bubba. I'll help carry this. This guy is 10 years older than me. Probably a good 30, 40 pounds heavier than me. Has a heart condition.
Ooh.
Absolutely did not bat an eye. Came over and said, what do you need? Let's get this done.
Yeah, let's do this job.
Yeah. So when he calls me, write that check, buddy. I'm on my way.
Right. What and where? Yeah.
When and where, exactly. And so it's kind of one of those things that we run into, especially as dads. We forget sometimes that all of these little interactions that don't mean quite as much to us, we're paying into our kids' bank accounts. You know, your daughter's gonna be like, 10 years from now, she's gonna, oh, my dad and I, we used to make these YouTube videos all the time. And you'd be like, honey, we made 4.
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
But in her head, she's like, we made them all the time.
Yeah.
You know, and that's gonna, that right there may have been 2 hours of absolute hell for you, but that's a lifetime of memory she's gonna walk away with. You know, and part of this is like, and it deals with mental health, is this idea of intentionality. You have to do things in life with intentionality. And if you're finding yourself struggling with something in your life, intentionally look at it and say, okay, let's pick this apart, start digging through these onion layers. What's causing this? Because sometimes, what was it? Oh, was it Muhammad Ali that said it? He was like, he goes, in a journey of 1,000 miles, something like that. It's not the mountain climb that kills you; it's the rock in your boot that wears you down over time. And it's this thing that thing that's driving you absolutely nuts could be a small thing, but it's been in there and it's been bouncing around and it's been so irritating for so long that everything is inflamed, and now everything it touches, and you're just like, oh. And you realize that, that's what it was. Okay. Sometimes it's huge shit. Personal.
Yeah.
And this is the thing too. Trauma is trauma. Like you might go through something and be like, okay, I'm good. I could go through the exact same thing and be like, well, that's it. I'm done. I'm never leaving my house again. And either response is okay, because we all deal with things differently. It all hits us in different places for different reasons. And I see so many guys sit there and talk about, well, I know people have it harder than I do. And I was like, well, if you take that mentality, everybody's got it harder than someone, except for that one person. There's that one person somewhere in the world that had the shittiest day of anybody in the world, and they're the only ones allowed to complain.
Right.
No, anybody can complain. Just because other people have suffered greater than you have, that doesn't take anything away from your suffering or your journey. It's not a pie. There's not a set like, oh, look, there's a certain amount of suffering in the world, and here's your sliver.
Here's your slice.
We're not comparing portions here. It's just this idea that everybody suffers differently. And if I look at you and you're having a really hard day, and I'm like, well, what's got you down? And you tell me something, and it's nothing. It's like, okay, really? That's it?
Yes.
Geez, what are you on your period or something?
Right.
No, it's to say, you know what? Hey, I don't know your life. I have not walked a mile in your shoes. I have not. It could be that whatever is bothering you could have a callback to something that happened to you in 5th grade. You might not even realize it. That, oh yeah, that's why that bugged me, because there was this one guy in 5th grade who's a real a-hole and really just put me through the ringer, and it called back. My wife did something one day, and I'm just sitting there like, all right, we about to fight, and you know what it was? She turned the music up real loud and was singing while she was cleaning house.
How dare
you know why that triggered me?
No, what happened?
Because that's what my mom used to do when she was mad.
Oh yeah.
She would crank the music all the way up and start singing. I told my wife, I said, if you've never been in an abusive situation, you'll never understand how someone can wash dishes at you.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. I
cleaning house at me.
Right.
It was. And so when mom was like that, everybody, you run off to your room. You tried to become invisible, because if you made eye contact, you're in trouble for something you did 6 months ago. She's stocking up. And I'd tell my wife, I'm like, that's why I was getting defensive over something that happened when I was in 4th grade. And it just didn't dawn on me until I was like, I had to pump the brakes and go, why am I on edge right now? Why am I thinking we're about to fight?
Right.
When all she's doing is singing Hamilton.
Just singing in the kitchen.
Slamming stuff a little loud, but she's singing and doing this. Why am I like that? Oh my God, it was my mom. That her singing at the top of her lungs in the kitchen, it wouldn't bother you.
I'd be singing along.
Yeah.
But that's not that's not how my family did their thing. There are things in my family. Again, like you said it very well, there's no way we can judge how something affects someone else.
Yeah.
We just can't. And we need to be, especially men, be able to say, wow, buddy, that sucks. Whatever it might be.
Sometimes that's it. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you're telling me your problems, and I say, are you looking for support or solutions?
Yeah.
Because if
Just
you're looking for support, then damn, bro, that sucks.
right.
I am sad that you're going through that. I hope things get better. You're looking for solutions. Okay. What was it about it that made that mad? What is it, but if you're just looking for support and someone starts giving you solutions, it comes across like you don't deserve to feel the way you feel. And here, fix it and shut up.
Yeah.
And that's not right.
No.
So yeah, and that's, I think, why mental health is so hard. And because it's hard, we tend to shy away from it
Mhm.
because there's no cut and dry answers. What works for you won't work for me. What works for, I
Yeah.
have to frame a lot of what I say with, this is from my personal experience. This is what worked for me.
Right.
If it works for you, great. If not, then hey, you found out something that doesn't work. You don't try it again. Go do something else.
Mhm.
But it's hard because if you have a broken bone, here, let's pop it, reset it, put a cast on it. That generally works for everybody.
Mhm.
If it's a really bad one,
Yes.
they'll put some metal and screws in there, but there's a set procedure for broken arm or
Yes.
broken bone. There's not a set procedure for broken heart or
Right.
broken mind,
Yeah.
and
And even with the exact same diagnosis,
exactly,
I mean, I can
exactly.
say, well, I've got PTSD and depression, anxiety, whatever. And someone, yeah, I have PTSD too. And I'm like, well, I did this and it helped 100%. And they're like, what? That's garbage. That never worked for me. I tried it 20 times.
Yeah.
And like you said, because even though it's the exact same diagnosis, basically, our responses, our brains, our hearts change how those things affect us.
Well, and how everybody, even getting on antidepressants, they hit
Mhm.
every single person differently.
Yeah.
Some people go, well, I just got this first one they gave me, worked great.
Mhm.
Other people are, ADHD medications, not
Yes.
everybody responds to Ritalin or
Mhm.
Adderall or Vyvanse, or there's 1,000 of them out there.
Mhm.
Not everybody responds the same way. So you can't just sit there and say, oh, okay, well, here's what we do, and you're fixed.
Right. Yeah.
It's a process.
Mhm.
And because it's a process, it's hard. And there's a lot of gray area. And the hard part is the way our system is set up now is when you're in that bad spot, navigating that gray area is 10 times harder.
Mhm.
And if you don't have someone with you, kind of helping to steer that rudder, it's easy to get lost and just go, forget it. And
Right.
then you go, see, I'm unhelpable. I'm super
Yes.
broken.
Yeah.
When really all
Nobody
it
can help
was
me.
is you just needed to talk to the right doctor or get on the right medicine. It's that one phone call that might have been the one you needed.
Mhm.
It's a shame that that's kind of how our system is set up.
Mhm.
And it's completely daunting, especially if you've never done it before.
Right.
If you've never
Yes.
had to dip your toe into the mental health system, the first time you do it, you're just like, well,
This is
I guess
crazy.
I'm just
This
gonna go
is
shoot
this
up now.
right. This
You
is way
know,
easier. Yeah. So
and really, I mean, I just went in for ADHD medication, and it within 6 months was like, no, I'll just suffer with my ADHD.
yeah,
I don't want to do this anymore.
it's way easier. When I go to get my Adderall, when I get the prescription, I have to go in and get them to write it right there, and then I have to take it there, and the pharmacist has to go in and check the safe, and they're all like, "Oh, this is for I don't hang on, let me talk to," and I'm like, I don't care if you tell everybody in town I'm on Adderall. I understand it's what it is. A lot of people wouldn't have this problem, but it's not like I'm buying drugs to shoot up, and it's not heroin or anything. I need this just to focus. I can't
But
even
it's a controlled
yeah,
substance now,
right, right, yeah.
and
Yeah,
because
it's
of that, I
crazy.
mean, and I couldn't call Walgreens and say, hey, I'm coming by with a prescription. Do you have 50 of these things for me? They'll be
Yeah.
like, well, we need to get here, see the prescription, and then let me know. So
Mhm.
it was an hour drive to pick up the prescription, an hour drive back home.
Ooh,
And then I would usually take, if I got lucky, my first Walgreens would have it. But depending on the time of month, they all their, like, when all the school kids, they'd all get their prescriptions in the first week of the month.
oh
So
no. Yeah,
you'd
it's
walk up and they're
gone.
like, we're out. So I had
And
5 different Walgreens that I could go to, and it would just be, let's start and go down the list
mhm.
to see. And then maybe it was on the second one, maybe the third one, you know, but it was an absolute nightmare. And I'm
Yeah.
like, this is just so that I'll stop drinking 5 pots of coffee a day,
Yeah.
because I was literally drinking 2 full pots of coffee a day,
Mhm.
just,
To
and
keep
even I
going. You
was
had to
still
keep
knocking
focused.
down a pot of coffee with my Adderall.
Wow,
My
dude.
doctor was like, she
That's
goes,
impressive.
she's like, you really might want to think about stopping. So I drink coffee in the morning now, and that's it.
Mhm.
And I don't really do caffeine much any at all during the day anymore, because I was having a lot of negative side effects on the evening side of things.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but it was just, it's the whole system was so screwed up that,
Mhm.
and when I quit, I didn't like call the doctor's office and say, I'm done, I don't want to be a patient anymore. I quit calling. No
Just
one ever bothered to call
right.
my number to say, hey, we haven't heard from you. Are you okay?
Mhm.
No, I felt immediately off because someone else immediately took my spot,
Right.
and they're overworked.
Mhm. Yeah, it's awful. It's awful. Now
You're
that's a
you're you're
whole
suffering. You're
other
having a hard
subject, but
time. You're
yeah.
like, I need to see a doctor, and they go, okay, we can see you in 3 months.
Mhm.
You're like, but I'm broken now.
Right.
I'm in crisis right now, and
Mhm.
they're like, well, the best we can do if we have a cancellation is in 2 months, but you're a new patient, so
Yeah.
oh,
Oh, yeah.
okay. Yeah, it was it really,
It's
it just,
insane. It's very frustrating. Very frustrating. And again, if you don't know how to navigate it, if you don't have somebody helping you, you just stop. This
yep.
isn't worth it. I'm not, and I have thought about multiple times about just stop taking Adderall, but I know because I have stopped just to see. I didn't want to be addicted to it. I wanted to make sure that it was helping me, and so I
Yeah.
just quit. And then, 3, 4 days into it, I can't even get through a sentence, and I'm just like I don't know. I was talking about, I don't know, what are we talking about? And it was just every day. And my wife couldn't, I mean, it was funny because I don't tell my wife, and I wait until she sees it. And she
Yeah.
comes up, at about the second day, she notices something that doesn't say anything. The third day, she's like, did you quit taking your meds? I'm like,
Mhm.
wow, it only took 3 days. She goes, no, you were weird yesterday.
Yeah.
And it's
It
like,
took
I can
one day.
feel it. I took one day. Yeah, she knows. But
Yeah,
anyway, we are running up on the end of our time, unfortunately, Scotty. And I did
that's
want
fine.
to make a point that you said, you mentioned earlier that it could be like that one phone call, that one person that nudges you in a direction when you're talking about getting to the doctor and getting medication or getting to, therapy or whatever you need. And I want to say that the reason I wanted you on our podcast is because I really feel like you have been and you continue to be that one moment, that one phone call, that one incident, or not incident, whatever, one moment where someone hears your voice and says, like they said previously, oh, wow, that's like, you were like telling my story.
Yeah.
And I know me personally, that's what I want more than anything, is for all men to understand, to be emotionally self-aware, and to be
Yep.
able to say, yeah, I'm hurting.
Mhm.
I need this, or I want that, or this is what I need help with. And if we can get that out more and more and more, especially now in November, which is a big proponent for mental health, as we said earlier. So having you here this month was very important to me. And I want to thank you for being here, and to thank you for talking, because I honestly feel like, again, you're opening the door so that other men can walk through. So thank you.
Well, I mean, it really, I thank you. It's kind of one of those things that I guess the realization I had was that um the only good thing that grows in darkness is mushrooms. You
Mhm.
know, monsters grow in the dark, evil grows in the dark, and the darkness is thinking that you're alone, thinking that you're the only person that could possibly be going through what you're going through. And this idea is that the light is, if I had to go through this shit, because I did, I went
Mhm.
through it, the worst thing to happen would be if it was for nothing. But if I could get over myself and put put my story out there, put my voice out there for no other reason than to say, you're not alone. If one person goes, oh, thank God, not that, oh, hey, thank God he was suffering, but more of a, oh, so I'm not a freak. I'm not a weirdo. I'm not an aberration, and God's not punishing me.
Yes.
That's, if I can get one person to do that, then every single thing I went through was worth it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's, and I've had people say, oh, you talk about this a little bit much. I'm like, don't care. I'll sing it from the rafters. This is my story. If you don't like my story, change the channel. I don't tell it every day, all day. But if mental health conversations come up, so we're talking about this, huh? Oh.
Yeah.
I immediately, so depression, anxiety, ADHD, what do you got?
Where you at? Where you at? What do you got?
Bipolar? I know a few bipolar. I'm not, but I know a few. What's going? What do you got? Schizophrenia? Right. What is it? It just becomes a thing in, like, I see people having an anxiety attack, and I didn't realize they're having an anxiety attack. And my first reaction is, have you done a grounding exercise? And then I tell them about the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 exercise, which if you have anxiety, look it up. It's called the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 thing. I'm not going to waste any more time going through it, but there's so many different little things that you can look up and go, oh, because if I can take the edge off of it now, and it doesn't feel so sharp and sticky, then it's easier to deal with. And then you can talk about it when you don't feel like you're having a heart attack.
Yes.
Kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, really with Movember, cancer sucks. It took my mom, when I was 25. So guys, get your shit checked out. Oh, it's embarrassing. They're going to put a finger up my butt. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah. Go get checked. It is.
You might like it. Who knows? But whatever. I mean, what's the option? It was,
the other option again is cancer.
Farrah Fawcett. You remember, I've talked to you forever. I don't even know how old you are.
I'm older than you.
You're older than me.
Oh yeah. I was born in the 60s, baby.
Really? Huh. I'm 72. That's when I was born. So
1969.
Okay. So Farrah Fawcett.
Oh yeah.
Do you know she had anal cancer?
No, I did not.
It's what killed her.
Oh God.
She finally came out and talked about it. And people were skittish to interview her. And she goes, okay, why should I be embarrassed? Because cancer decided to attack a random part of my body. If I said I had little finger cancer, you'd be like, oh, well, let's talk about little finger cancer. But I said I had anal cancer, and you go, oh, you freaky thing. What have you been doing? I don't know, pooping. It's where the cancer hit, you ding dongs. It's the same with prostate cancer. Guys would be like, oh, geez, that's my manhood. I can't do that. No, your manhood ain't your penis. Don't get me wrong. Penises are nice. They're great. They're fun to have. But that's not your identity. And would you rather be dead? No.
Right.
Go get that shit checked out. You got something going on in your head that just doesn't feel right? Get that shit checked out. If you're a dad, you don't want to do it for you. That's fine. I get it. There are so many things I don't do for me. Do it for your kids. You do it for your wife. You owe them, because, and I'm going to say this and it's going to get real fucking personal, because my mom died when I was 25 because she didn't get her shit checked out. Because she refused to do what she had to do. And she took that time away from me. I'm going to tell you, my anger towards her lasted a long damn time. I was mad at her for taking her out of my life. She never got to meet her grandkids from me because of this. You don't want your kids doing that. You don't want your wife doing that. Your parents still alive? You think they want to go through that? No, just go get your shit checked out. That having been said, I need to go get my shit checked out because I haven't. I need to.
Well, get on it, buddy. Get on it.
It is. I mean, I've talked to my wife. My ADHD kicks in. I'm like, baby, you're going to have to schedule the doctor's appointment. I will go do it. But it is. It's one of those things I think about. It's hard.
And the thing too, for me, for the longest time, was because of the people that raped me, and I'm
Mhm.
trying to rephrase it, like you said earlier, instead of it being it's very difficult too. But the things that they did to me were
Mhm.
mostly, um, I mean, it was anally, you
Mhm.
know, like one would expect, you know, a 3-year-old kid, that's, you know, a boy, that's what you're going to do. And for the longest time, I could not imagine letting the doctor examine
Oh
me
yeah.
there, even examine like any, you know, like a hemorrhoid. No. I'll just I'll just die. I would rather just, you know, it was that, you know, that vehement in me that I wouldn't want it happening. But then again, you look at it and go, okay, so the other option though is potentially getting cancer. And like with testicular cancer is the other one that Movember is really big about. That's not something I want to play with. I don't want, I mean, that's my boys. Yeah. I don't want to lose those, because
Yeah.
that's basically what happens. Oh, you got cancer and we're going to take them away. And no,
I mean, given the
I need
alternative,
those. That or death. Sure.
yeah, take
But
them. But
if I can get it checked and
if
just
you can
go,
nip it in the bud to keep them from nipping your bud, there you
nice. Yeah.
go.
I see you. I
Yeah,
see you.
you know.
Making dad jokes. Well, anyway, Scotty, we do have to go. We're running over a little over time, and that's fine.
That's
I'd rather
fine. Yeah,
have
like I said, when
talked too
Brock
much
comes
than I have.
back on, I
Mhm.
know he wanted to talk because there's some other
Mhm.
other coping
Other,
mechanisms I wanted to talk about.
yes, and I
Um,
do too. I do too.
yeah, so I have a puppet, a monster named
Mhm.
Scatter, who's trying to make a splash on TikTok and stuff. And I know Brock wanted to talk not just talk about him, but we could talk to him, kind
That
of
would,
thing. And I can
yes,
even relate my story with him and my mental health through COVID,
awesome.
and just kind of stuff like
Yes.
that. In fact, I have my Sitter for the Puppetry Arts t-shirt on
Oh, I
tonight.
see that. Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, just whenever you guys want to crack that omelet, that egg, let me know. I'll be happy to come on. Like I said, you can tell I'm a pretty shy person. Talking's kind of hard.
It's kind of difficult. Yeah. You and me both, man. I love it too. Cause every time we've talked, I'm like, yeah, I got to get Scotty on. I'm just let him go. I'm just going to pull his cord and see how long he goes, you
uh,
know?
well,
So
see, I'm like the Energizer Bunny. I could keep going, but you're all like, shit, dude, we're 5 minutes over.
I got another
Our
meeting
bandwidth,
coming
we
up.
can't afford this.
That's right. I probably don't have the bandwidth for it, but I love it. I love it. I can't wait till we get to meet in person, man. I'm looking forward to it. So, but to all of our listeners, hope we covered some things that really reached you. There's a lot of things again that we all have going on. Anybody needs to talk. Y'all all know where I'm at, and I'm not going to volunteer anyone else. But I know that I have a very open a mindset about talking to people about anything. So feel free, talk to me, talk to your friends, talk to your dad, find somebody and get those things out. Start talking about your emotions and what they're doing to your mental health. So good night, everybody.
Take care.